Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today, we are discussing a watch launched in 2007 that may turn out to be one of the rarest modern Rolex timepieces, the most complicated Rolex ever made. It is the deceptively complex Rolex Oyster Perpetual Yacht-Master II version 1, reference 116689. The bezel is platinum, the remainder of the case and bracelet all of 18-karat white gold, or properly speaking, gray gold. Throwing the watch on my wrist, you can see a few standout features. One, its size. It's 44 millimeters in diameter. It measures a surprisingly svelte 13.9 millimeters thick. It's thinner than I expected, but it's as broad as I expected. 50 millimeters from lug tip to lug tip, and if you include the end links of the bracelet, the total distance across the wrist is 57.2 millimeters, and the watch uses a 21 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Now, the timepiece in white gold and platinum is huge, but it's not as big as a deep sea. So if you can wear, I would say, a 42 millimeter Explorer 2, you can wear this. And this watch wears well on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist. I would say 16 centimeters circumference and larger, you're gonna be able to wear this watch well. And again, it's thinner than you think. The bracelet is an Oyster 3-link design. You can see it has a conforming end link, so it joins better with the case with no gaps. You can also see it's a tapered design, polished centers, satin shoulders, polished outer faces. We have removable links fixed by screws, that on both sides of the clasp. It is a weighty machine, so we have a high-grade Oyster clasp. So we have the lift lock system with the beak and the hook internally. That latches once, the clamshell is the second lock, and it's sure tight once closed with little kerfs so you can dig your nail in to open up the clamshell. And then you get inside the clasp, and you can see that we have the 5 millimeter tool-free EasyLink quick adjustment system. It allows you to go in or out 5 millimeters, the equivalent of adding or removing one sizable link. You can also see that there are divots drilled inside the clasp, so you can use your strap tool to change the anchoring point of the bracelet inside the clasp for fine-tuning. So EasyLink, the 3 divots, and then the removable links, 3 different ways to size this watch. Rolex makes its own cases, clasps, bracelets. It has its own foundry, and it makes its own alloys, which means this is Rolex's own gold. Rolex uses what's called gray gold in the industry, a gold that is 18-karat white all the way through. So underneath, it's the same color, and it never needs to be rhodium plated. Costs a bit more than making the cheaper stuff that is rhodium plated, but this is Rolex. They're not going to compromise. The bezel is both made of solid platinum, insert and bezel both, and it's part of the movement. It is called Ring Command. It is a system that would later resurface on the Skydweller. Here it is used for setting a programmable countdown memory. So let's say I want to program to 9 minutes. That's my countdown. Now I'm going to rotate this bezel back into position. Note that the way this works is you stop the chronograph, you pull the crown out to its first position, you turn the bezel all the way counterclockwise, then you push in the button down at 4 o'clock. Then you can set the time for the countdown. The watch has a programmable memory. The way this works is you set it, and then you start the chronograph, and it will count down from whatever you program to 0. It is for timing the countdown to the start of a match or a race within a regatta, a competition between racing sailboats. Generally racing sailboats. There is some powerboat regatta, but it's uncommon. So this is a yachtsman's watch. Now you will note I can stop and I can restart the chronograph, and it is a flyback chronograph, so it will fly back to the designated minute. What it'll actually do is it'll fly back or forward to the nearest minute, which isn't quite the same thing as flying back in an absolute sense. So it has that fly back, fly forward functionality, and you can always reset the seconds hand by pressing the reset trigger. Now, the dial is truly white. It's not silver white, it is white. We have concentric grooves for the sub-seconds register. We have white, and we have red, and we have blue, which is a nice sporty color tritone. We're going to take a look at the lume right here. You can see this watch, which was launched in 2007, is the first generation of the dial before Super Luminova was replaced by Chromolite. Now, about this first generation dial. The watch was made with these stick hour and minute hands from 2007 to 2012 when the steel model arrived, which pretty much ended sales of this model from a practical standpoint. This model was given blue hands to make them easier to read against the white dial base. And again in 2017, when the Yacht-Master II received a facelift, these hands changed again. Now Mercedes hands with a triangular index at the top of the dial. So there are 3 different dial versions of this already uncommon watch. And like I said, everyone who wanted a white metal version of the Yacht-Master II, after 2013, they bought the steel model. Very few of these white gold platinum watches were ever made. It is an exceptionally uncommon timepiece. Now, that movement inside Rolex's most uncommon chronograph caliber and most complex movement ever. This movement is based on the Daytona, but they make a lot of changes. First, there's the whole ring command system. There's the programmable mechanical memory. Note that if I stop the chronograph and I reset it, it resets to my programmed countdown until I change that programmed countdown. So we've got a vertical clutch and a column wheel, bidirectional automatic winding on a rotor bearing, not a jeweled staff rotor, but a rotor with a bearing. We have 72 hours of power reserve, a 4 hertz beat rate. All of this pivots on 42 joules. It is a COSC chronometer. It has a free sprung balance with a full balance bridge for shock tolerance. It uses a handmade Breguet overcoil, so it keeps excellent time in any physical position, no matter where the watch is. And again, certified chronometer tested in 5 positions. The watch is 100 meters water resistant, which is absolutely critical for a sports style aquatic timepiece. The watch is beautiful. It is massive. It is uncompromising. And yes, it is polarizing. But as I mentioned, it's a real collector's prospect because of its rarity and its status, which is unlikely to be threatened as the most complicated Rolex ever made, this caliber 4160 in here. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. And because I know you're wondering, yes, the watch does feature hacking seconds, but it is the kind of thing you are seldom going to use. What I often find is that I like to run the chronograph full time on the subject of seconds because it's a lot easier to read the center seconds hand than the sub register. So because it's got a vertical clutch, you can leave it running on a full-time basis and just have that seconds hand in motion, pretend the chronograph isn't part of the equation. Again, reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.